Have you noticed in how certain meetings, whenever there's a man speaking, everyone's really paying attention, etc. But as soon as a woman comes up, everyone starts checking their phone. They usually take a seat back and not very engaged, etc. Understanding microaggressions. I understand maybe this is a term which is new to some of you. And so let's try to understand what microaggressions at a workplace look like and what its impact is. We'll be then moving into understanding inappropriate behaviors like sexual harassment. You probably may have heard of this a few years ago in the whole Me Too movement that had taken the social media by storm. We'll then come to how the nation has protected workplaces by putting in place this law which prevents sexual harassment at workplace. So we'll talk about what the compliance requirements are, what the law expects from each of us. And we'll be ending the webinar by talking about how we can create a culture of mutual respect and inclusion.
Mr. Mishra, Akshay, Shalini, Kavita, Mr. Venkat.
No way, I was just being polite.
I am not guilty.
I felt bad.
No, that was meant to be a joke.
No. It was just a compliment.
Let's start from the beginning and see what happened.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Morning, Michelle.
Second floor?
No, fourth actually.
Did you also get stuck in the park traffic?
No, I live next street.
I ride a scooter. Very convenient. By the way, you're looking very nice.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Acha. Appraisal meeting. Don't worry. You'll get it.
Good morning, Shalini. What happened?
Don't even ask, yeah. You know that Mishra ji? He thought I'm dressed like this just to impress the boss. Can you believe that?
Men. Hey, listen, is our boss in? I need to ask for leave next week.
Leave? In the middle of appraisals? Wait, what's your excuse? Are you pregnant? Oh, no, wait. You can use your Madrasi bonding and ask him. Of course he'll give you leave. Go ask him.
Okay, I see him. Na pora.
Kavita, read next.
Shama, you should have been in the show yesterday. You missed an amazing show, yeah. It was so good. Hey, Ashwin, how was the show yesterday? See, it was a brilliant show.
Hello, Young Achiever of the Year.
Morning, sir.
Morning, what's up? Coffee? Break already, yeah? Evening, 7 p.m. Con call.
Sure, sir. I'll log in from home.
No, office.
Sure, sir. Arey, बैठिए. You don't have to. By the way, the project that was in the pipeline, we got it. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
In fact, I was talking to Pooja about how the clients loved your presentation and he's very happy with it. We'll be going forward. But छोटा सा problem है. The client wants to run the production in 2 locations simultaneously.
No problem.
Which will involve a lot of traveling.
Sir,
I know. Which is exactly why I asked Pooja to take the lead so you can relax.
So now what do you say?
Arey, I was just showing empathy, considering he's disabled.
You mean differently able?
Yeah, that's what. But boss here was mean to me.
It's not as if you are perfect, Akshay. You judged me because of my disability.
Excuse me? Look who's talking. You judge me just because of the dress I'm wearing. Women don't dress just to impress people, by the way.
By the way, you keep saying I get perks because I'm from Madras. That's also not cool.
No, but that's a joke.
Oh,
You
when
know
it
what
happens
is
to you,
out of
it's okay.
proportion. But you know.
Is this something that you've noticed or experienced where there's some form of groupism that happens just because you belong, just because you share a common language, because you come from the same place, or because you're of the same age, etc. Now, we also notice that these kind of comments that are made are very, very sort of unintentional, harmless. People take it in fun. Arey, it's just a joke, yaar. It's nothing. Don't be so serious about it. But these are what we call microaggressions. These are very often extremely subtle and very, very unintentional actions or comments that we make that sometimes does make the individual feel a little excluded, right? And these come from, it's a very unconscious thing. It is an unconscious bias that we have. It's some of the biases or stereotypes that we have learned growing up that comes out at our workplace, that comes out in our interactions with people. These microaggressions can take place based on someone's race, someone's skin color, someone's ability, someone's gender, how influential the person is, or even how attractive they are, how good looking they are. And sometimes just because of that, they get certain kind of preferential treatment. And it's these kind of very microaggressions and micro inequities that some individuals who experience it, especially for a longer period of time, they do feel alone. They do feel like they don't belong. And these are usually, as you noticed in the video as well, they can also be conveyed through facial expressions. It's not always just overt words or actions, but through facial expressions, through gestures, through body language, prejudice, stereotypes, discrimination. We don't really do much about it because these are so subtle, and the impact is not very overt. Like, if you hear such a comment, you usually have a tendency to just let it go. Yeah. I want to actually share some more examples with you. So let's see. With the way you look and dress, I'm sure you will get great feedback or promotion. Or why are you so upset about this? Are you PMSing? Clearly, we know who wears the pants in the relationships, addressing gender stereotypes. You speak English so well, considering where you're from, talking to somebody who's from a tier 3 city or whose primary language is not English. Or have you noticed in how certain meetings, whenever there's a man speaking, everyone's really paying attention, etc. But as soon as a woman comes up, everyone starts checking their phone. They usually take a seat back and not very engaged, etc. Or commenting on someone's appearance, someone's weight, telling someone who's a little bit heavier than you that, oh, you're so brave for wearing such clothes. I can never wear such clothes. I'm so conscious of that. Or the fact that I like that you don't act like typical women. What does that mean? Does that mean that a typical woman is not a good person? Is that what kind of a judgment are we making over there? Or someone ignoring the presence of somebody else at workplace and not making them feel included. Right? These are all very minute, very subtle behaviors that exist in workplace that does exactly the opposite of creating a warm, inclusive environment. Right? I want to talk about what the impact of being subjected to microaggressions for a longer period of time often leads to. One of the most common impact is feeling excluded. And this may then continue to lead to a person having low self-esteem, confidence, not being so sure to speak up or where they stand amongst their colleagues. They may experience loneliness, shame, sometimes even frustration and anger. Because of this, you may also see a drop in productivity because they may not feel very engaged or motivated to work. They may isolate themselves. They may feel helpless, not valued. And yes, long-term impact also leads to substance abuse, just to cope with dealing with all of this. I am gonna now shift gears a little and talk about some other more overt type of inappropriate behaviors. What we saw right now was a bit more covert, and we will be talking about how to address these towards the end. Have you heard of this term sexual harassment? So I guess you must have heard about it at your workplace, at your previous workplace, online, on social media, or even in the news. So before we talk about what sexual harassment means, I want to show you all another video.
This colleague of mine, should I name her? Okay, so this colleague, friend colleague, ये उस लड़के को पहले से ही जानती थी, तो हम साथ में हैंग आउट करने लगे, लंच पे साथ जाते थे, बाहर ऑफिस में मिल लिया. He's not from sales, not that it's an issue, but she thought we would really get along. तो एक टाइम के बाद मुझे भी लगा कि हमारी तो काफी सही बन रही है. Yes, he's a bit quiet type, so शायद he feels a bit conscious, you know. But otherwise सबको लगा कि हमारी केमिस्ट्री तो एकदम सही है.
तो तुमने किया उसके बारे में कुछ?
No, I mean एक दो बार मेरे फ्रेंड्स जानबूझकर लेट आए हमें अलोन टाइम देने के लिए. सबको ही लगा एक दिन he's gonna ask me out on a date. But I understand there are guys who are shy, जिनको लगता है लड़की पहले इशारा दे कोई, तो मैंने दिया. Then I was a bit more flirtatious, you know, I guess. Then there was this office party. वहाँ तो मैंने पूछ ही लिया, हेलो क्या है, when are you gonna kiss me?
और फिर?
गायब. No messages, फोन ही नहीं उठा रहा मेरे. Then I texted him saying, अरे मजाक था, I was joking.
Were you joking?
दूसरी कंपनी में चला गया वो. I mean सिर्फ मेरी वजह से तो नहीं हो सकता ये सब. I'm sure he was professionally unsatisfied.
तो आपको क्यों लगा वो आपको पसंद करता है?
मेरे दोस्तों ने ना थोड़ा कुछ चढ़ा दिया था ज्यादा. In my mind also it was all really perfect. Usually लड़के ऐसी बातों पर फ्लैट हो जाते हैं. But he never really expressed himself. मुझे कैसे पता चलेगा? How does he really feel?
पर कभी पूछा आपने उसको?
No, I didn't. Means I have to. लड़का है वो. If you're not into it, just say it, no?
I think one of the first misconceptions that we have when we talk about sexual harassment is that it's something that only women experience, which I don't believe is true, right? Sexual harassment is not a gender issue. It's not about women. It is an issue about power dynamics. It is an issue about inequalities between the relationships, but it's not only a women issue. Yes, statistically women experience it a lot more, but that doesn't mean that men also don't experience sexual harassment, or that other genders, other minorities, people belonging to the LGBTQIA communities, they don't experience sexual harassment. Right? As you noticed in this video, there were very subtle, so in the beginning, there were very subtle kind of indications that she was interested in him. She would try to spend some alone time with him. In fact, even her colleagues gave her or pushed her to have some alone time. And this made him really, really uncomfortable, right? To the point that he is the type of person who doesn't feel comfortable initiating or sharing how they really feel, right? And the assumption that, oh, just because he's a boy or a man, he should speak up. You know, that, oh, just because he's a man, I don't need to ask him for consent, right? If you're not into it, then he should say it first. Why should I ask them? These type of gender stereotypes or understanding of gender roles can really affect our relationships at work, whether it's talking about sexual harassment or about microaggressions. In simpler terms, if I was to explain sexual harassment, it's essentially someone's boundaries getting crossed through behaviors which have a sexual meaning, right? And this can look like any behavior. It can be physical, verbal, non-verbal, through gestures, etc. So any behavior which has a sexual connotation, which is experienced as unwanted and unwelcome by the recipient, right? The person didn't invite for this kind of behavior. And also this may or may not be directed towards the recipient. So it may not necessarily be true that it's targeted at one person individually. It can also happen that maybe there's a group in the office who's chatting about some movie that they recently saw, and they are commenting on someone's dresses and singing these double meaning Bollywood songs, and you happen to be working in the same environment. Now, imagine when you're hearing such kind of conversations from your colleagues, you will pause for a second and think of, oh, this is how they think of people, or this is the kind of conversations they have. Now, the next time you work with them, that is something that may play in your head. It may make you uncomfortable, right? So it may not be directed at you, but even if it's something that's happening in the environment at work, it would have an impact. This is regardless of the intention of the person behaving in such a manner. So if, for example, someone says, hey, you're looking quite hot today. I really love these pants on you. And say somebody said that to me and I felt uncomfortable. And then I said, I would appreciate if you don't compliment me that. And maybe the person says, hey, chill yaar, I was just complimenting you. Don't need to take it so seriously all the time. So the person is clarifying that their intention was maybe not to sexually harass you, but the impact that it had on me was that it did make me uncomfortable, perhaps because of the rapport that we share. So whenever we talk about sexual harassment, impact will always take precedence over intent, right? We do look at the person's intention, but it becomes secondary. Now let's look at the different types of sexual harassment that often takes place. One is physical contact or advances such as stroking, poking, pinching somebody, groping someone, sometimes even going too close and standing to somebody while trying to talk or talk about some confidential matter, or maybe cornering a person in such a way that if that person wants to get out, they have to go touch through your body and right? It can also look like inappropriate comments or demand or request for sexual favors, saying things like, hey, come on, you're only 25, don't hormones affect you, or making sexually colored remarks like looking at someone saying, "Arey, aaj to nazar ko thandak," or commenting and saying that, hey, why don't you wear that pink shirt of yours? Your biceps look really good in that. It can even include sharing of text messages, images, memes, videos, which has sexually implicit or explicit content. Okay. Now, most of us who work together have also befriended each other on social media platforms, right? Like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, so many other new platforms that also exist. Now, these are personal spaces where we do share whatever we are up to in our life, depending on whatever their personal preferences are. Now, it's also, so when you are interacting with a colleague in such a space, and when you are tagging each other on content which may have sexually implicit or explicit material, if it makes the other person uncomfortable, this would also count as sexual harassment. Even if it's happening on social media, but just because the interaction is happening between two people at workplace, it would be considered as sexual harassment at workplace. Because let's think of it. When we are interacting with people offline, outside of workspaces, tomorrow morning we have to get up and come and work together. And do you really think that it's not going to affect your work at all? Something that's happening in your personal space, do you think that it won't affect your work? It can also include any other verbal, non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. So when we talk about sexual harassment, it's not like I can give you a list of these 50 behaviors and that's what we call sexual harassment. No, it can be any behavior through any kind of mode of expression, as long as it has a sexual meaning and it's experienced as uncomfortable and unwanted by someone.